It's springtime, and the mind turns to love. This week, Steve and I each have an ode to one of the objects of our affections.
I've had a 15-year romance with TiVo, and now, sadly, it may be over.
And I have a crush on another podcast. Sorry, Steve. It's NPR's Planet Money, and this week they've got a story that looks at cord cutting and the pros and cons of skinny bundles and how this relates to backing your horse into your trailer.
Then data everywhere. Nielsen, OTT, VOD, and smartphones. The numbers do not lie.
Speaking of lying, we're going to talk about Donald Trump and what TV has to do with his rise over the Republican Party.
I'm Steve Rosenbaum.
And I'm Saul Hansel.
And this is Hacking TV. By the way, that's good. We do that in sync. I like that. That's good.
And we can coordinate. It's next we'll do the rap version of the podcast.
All right. So let's dive right in, shall we? Because we have a lot to cover.
Your love. You are the last person alive who cares about TiVo, and you saw some news that was disturbing to you this week.
So first of all, I'm not. They have 6 million subscribers.
Okay.
But you have to remember, when TiVo was launched, it was the shot across the bow that said consumers can now control their schedule. No longer will we be held hostage by the network saying, we'll move your show from Thursday night at 10 till Tuesday at 8, and you had to move your schedule around and say, oh, I can't go to my bowling league because they moved my favorite show. Okay, you could have recorded on VHS, but let's be honest, no one really did. And then TiVo came along, and all of a sudden, it was magical.
And, just because people with good ideas don't always win, while TiVo, was chugging along in business, the vast majority of the DVRs that are deployed right now are deployed by cable set-top boxes, which after a bunch of lawsuits, TiVo gets some money from the patents for. So, but they certainly don't.
But by the way, don't say that in such a snarky way. I mean, they invented, Ramsey and the team, they invented it. The patents were found to be valid. They invented how to record live television on a hard drive. Good for them.
By the way, there were two pioneers originally, right? So you had TiVo and Replay TV, and the founder of Replay TV is running what now? Roku. Interesting. So my challenge to you and your lament is that it always struck me that TiVo was transitional technology, right? And it was a very good hack for its era, better than VHS cassettes, which were the best hack of, a previous generation. But just like we're no longer talking about Napster and downloading, we are talking about streaming, which now has outpaced downloading. The video is better. Why should I have to remember to record something when that file I'm recording is just a copy of something that exists in a canonical copy in the sky?
Okay, so let's do this in two stages. First of all,
okay.
The story that I think is interesting here is that I think that the bidder that claims to be buying TiVo today, Rovi, will not be the buyer.
Okay. Rovi, by the way, is this conglomeration of companies that has as its primary assets a bunch of patents bought from the old Gemstar TV, which was TV Guide Gemstar, that Murdoch was in and out of, that had a big accounting fraud. But anyway, they had a bunch of patents on stuff.
Right.
They do other businesses, none of which have made a huge impact on the world.
And Gemstar lost a lawsuit relatively recently that Netflix brought to essentially say you don't own the guide. You can't own the concept of a guide. So Gemstar, which its entire business is based on patent, IP, trademark licensing, lost an important dispute. So the reason they want TiVo is because it scoops back up into the new Rovi Gemstar beast a whole bunch more patent revenue that they can then proceed to. I mean, they are effective patent prosecutors.
Now,
which
so
is
then the
which is
question
why
is,
which is why they won't get them. By the way,
because who sees more value, right? There's an efficiency of scale in suing people for video patents, so they have that benefit. But so who do you think is going to outbid them?
so I in a piece that I wrote for Forbes, there's actually a fairly long list.
Uh-huh.
And it isn't necessarily someone that wants to be litigious and wants to chase
Okay.
grand strategy. It may be somebody that just doesn't want to be on the receiving end of a Roe v. back TiVo lawsuit and says, you know what, why don't we buy this thing and like put it in the drawer so that the TiVo IP doesn't come after us? And that could be, I mean, it's a long enough list that let me roll down and I'll read it to you. I mean, it's everyone from Apple TV, Kindle Fire, Chromecast, Roku. But then, if you end up on the other side of the world, it's essentially every TV manufacturer, and there's a long list there. So, Panasonic.
That makes sense, except a lot of the TiVo patents have already been licensed. So that argument only works if there are a lot of people who think they are still vulnerable to being sued. And has TiVo invented anything important since that initial block of patents? I mean, it's, because if someone's already worked out a price, you don't need to buy the company.
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. It's a fair question.
I don't know. Google bought the entire Motorola company and kept it for 2 years just to get his hand on the patents. But so people spend a lot of money on patents.
So chapter 1 is TiVo. We're in the first inning of what's going to be an interesting battle. I think that you're going to see a lot of bidders. I think that the Roe v. merger / purchase, depending on who you read, is not going to be the end game. And I think you're going to see a lot of TV people show up to play. So.
Basically, the only person I could imagine coming in would be Sony that needs to update its Betamax franchise. Otherwise, I think it's a step backwards for everybody else.
You're speaking as a cable subscriber, aren't you? Admit it.
I am.
No, you are a cable subscriber. I can see it in your eyes.
I haven't actually used the set-top box in years. We just use the Fios app on the iPad.
Okay, so for me, being able to record over the air all kinds of things, network shows, news, specials, the Academy Awards, all that stuff, and then see it on my schedule has been incredibly valuable. And in fact, I'm researching, there are a few other over-the-air DVRs available.
Look, so I've been shopping. So you don't have a Comcast option. Comcast now will sell you a cloud DVR, which, like all cloud things, has the advantage of you can watch it anywhere. So why would you want all that crap on your hard drive when and I'm not even sure you should call it a DVR, but in effect,
for such a troublemaker when in this space, you're being remarkably conventional in this podcast, because the answer is I don't want my television consumption device to be Comcast. I want Comcast.
So we have to separate what you want from what's going to happen.
Okay,
right?
So hold on. Now you're making me mad. So you're telling me I just ought to smile and accept the fact that Comcast will own the video universe in my world.
Well, let's just say that if you think the opposite of that, you are in for a tougher life.
I think that this gets to the larger conversation we're going to have about skinny bundles versus a la carte. To me, the promise of this next chapter was I should be able to watch what I want to watch, where I want to watch it, on what I want to watch it on. And you're saying that my friends at Comcast are going to make that possible.
Let me ask you this: do you feel the need to DVR anything on Netflix?
No.
Right. So if everything so Comcast is no more or less evil than Netflix, right? They are both businesses.
No, I'm not suggesting Comcast is evil. All I'm saying is I currently get Netflix through my TiVo box.
Right, but that experience isn't actually that much different than if getting it through an Apple TV or one of 100 other devices.
Fair enough. Right.
Or your web browser.
Or Roku.
TiVo only makes sense in a world of linear TV, which I don't think is the world we're living in. I think that basically everything is going to be Netflix, right? As of now, I can, if I sign in right, and there's the whole TV everywhere question, I can get my NBC app or my CBS app, and I just watch everything like Netflix.
But again,
right?
but again, this is you forgetting that TV everywhere requires a cable subscription. You're saying as long as you accept the fact that you're going to spend, a chunk of money with a cable company, then you have access to a bunch of stuff.
Wait, so you think it's totally okay, and more important, long-term stable, to say, I want the Disney company to give me the Academy Awards in a form so that I don't have to pay them any money. I'm getting it over the air, and I'm going to skip all the commercials. So they should spend whatever money they spend producing the Academy Awards and have absolutely no revenue for it. I don't think that's stable.
Okay,
I mean, of course, we all want
I think if we go back to a world in which an hour-long program has 15 minutes of commercials in it, and you're receiving it, on demand, but you can't skip or get better quality ads or ads that are relevant to you, it will be such a massive journey backwards in time. You will want to literally punch yourself in the face.
But here's what's going to happen, right? So here's what is different about now versus before. Vast amounts of competition, right? So if the Academy Awards are sufficiently annoying that you'd rather just go and watch the latest series on Netflix and see the little YouTube clips about it tomorrow, so there's a marketplace, right?
But again, what you're saying is that magically the CPMs are going to go up enormously, so that you'll have one commercial every 15 minutes as opposed to 7 or
I'm not saying no, but I'm saying that in the long run, the revenue has to be a little bit more than the cost, and I believe that the cost. I mean, this is something that
in the almost year we've done this podcast, you've never been more wrong than you are this evening.
Wait, so tell me what I'm wrong about.
Because television has a fictitious economic base that says we're going to pretend these CPMs are what they are because we're going to say homes reached is X when we all know secretly that homes reached isn't the same as actually consumers reached, but we're all going to close our eyes and accept that. And if that goes away, which is what you're saying will happen, the CPMs would have to go up so dramatically that television as we know it would stop existing.
I think television as we know it is going to stop existing, but not entirely. So Netflix can pay for House of Cards and all that other stuff by charging you money. No fiction in that. $10 a month times a lot of people equals a $5 billion programming budget, right? If you look at the revenue of the CBSs and the ABCs of the world, an ever-increasing percentage is coming from subscription fees through Must-Carry and all these other things. So they are moving towards a model that people may well like better, fewer or no commercials. But I also think that the budgets are going to have to come down. That's what's happening in the news business, right? It's simply supply and demand. More programmers, same number of eyeballs, means less average revenue per programming stream. No way around it. People are going to have to make the average programming for less money in the future than in the past. Period. And you're looking dumbfounded.
I just, you
don't agree.
I think you're headbangingly wrong.
Because let me just your assertion is that the myth of the eyeball, the CPMs, and the ad loads are going to continue, and the business model of CBS and NBC is going to stay the same, and linear over-the-air TV and none of the competition that we talk about every day is going to undercut their ad rates.
Of course not. I think, but
so what do you think is going to happen?
But if the wire that comes into my house controls how let's get to the the Planet Money story.
No.
No, because it's
what you think's going to happen. What is the thing that I'm wrong about? You are right in saying what in particular.
So a couple of things. First of all, they're either public airways or they're not.
Okay.
So either broadcasting is going to continue or it's going to go away. And if
it's going to go away, but keep going.
Well, there are people with hundreds of millions of dollars at stake in local television stations that say it.
And they're all selling their airwaves to a better use. The industry will be
different topic.
Okay, but anyway, so the public airwaves.
I think there will be programming I want and that I'm willing to pay for.
Yes.
But I think there will also be other programming that I'm interested in trading my attention for advertising.
I agree with that.
And I think the advertising is going to be more complicated. I think it's going to be baked in. I think there's going to be product placement. I think there's going to be sponsorship. There's going to be all kinds of other stuff. So no, I don't think long term the commercial spot loads succeed. But I think that either the control is in the hands of the consumer or it's not. And to me, TiVo reflected control in the hands of the consumer, and my DVR being owned by the cable company reflects it not being controlled by the consumer.
I agree with, again, there's a difference between what I want to be the case and what happens to be the case, right? I absolutely want total control over everything, and I want no economic power in the hands of anybody else. The reality, and Congress and the FCC get a vote on this, is that big rich companies that make things that people like have economic power. And as much as I wish they didn't, and there's a lot of weird legal arbitrage.
But let's move into the conversation that you want to have, because I think I'll disagree with you even more vehemently when we get into it.
All right. So my main assertion is that Planet Money is the single best purveyor of journalism in the country, bar none, right now. Okay. So, and I think that's important for us because podcasts, audio are a little bit easier than video and maybe a little bit ahead. And I don't think that we've seen as much innovation around how to do video journalism. And the things that I love about Planet Money are very much on display in the episode that they have this week called The Great Unbundling. They start out talking to a woman who is distraught that a cable network that I don't know if you've ever heard of, I certainly haven't.
Sure.
RFD TV.
Yeah, Rural Free Delivery TV, absolutely.
Right. As in maybe RFD.
Yeah, absolutely heard of it.
Okay, so anyway, it is no longer on her Verizon out in the country, and so she can't watch all the how-to episodes about how to back your horse into the trailer. Pan back, we meet the guy who started RFD TV, which in the sense of hacking TV, right? He edited together a bunch of reruns he got from his friends on a hard drive and mailed a 5-hour programming loop to Dish every week, and that's how he launched his cable network. And they tell these stories with real people and a lot of humanity, and then they start talking about the economics under it, and they're actually very smart about economics and the pros and cons of the marketplace, right? People don't want these big bundles. Everybody thinks why should I pay for RFD TV if I live in a city and don't ever have to back my horse into a trailer?
So let me just jump in here before you go any further and dig a hole that you can't get out of.
Yeah, which is?
So I happen to like Planet Money, but I thought this was a crappy episode.
Okay, and why?
And I thought the journalism was flat out sloppy.
Because
they didn't answer some basic questions.
Which are?
When the satellite guys called up the RFD guy and said, hey, you're installing satellite dishes. Wouldn't it be great if instead you produced this channel? They missed telling us whether or not they offered him any money. So did he get a
cable networks?
I understand that you and I know the answer, that he might have gotten money or he might not have gotten money. But the entire question of his business, to me, is predicated on, did he get a nickel a sub? Because if he did, then a lot of people that don't care a damn about farming were paying him, and that's messed up. But my guess is that they offered him Channel 9000, which is, I think, what they said they offered him,
right,
and $0. But he
could
sell. But he could sell the advertising.
It's I
So
think
there's two different kinds of relationships between
Sure.
satellite and programmers. One where they pay them a bunch of money, and one where they don't. And because I couldn't tell from that report which version of RFD it was impossible for me to know whether or not either A, cable was subsidizing RFD, which is a farming channel and would be ridiculous, just like me subsidizing other stuff I don't want to subsidize. Because at the end of the day, here's why I think the story is worth poking at. Skinny bundles is a scam. Skinny bundles is cable industry saying, oh, you don't want everything put together and don't want to pay for stuff you don't want? Okay, we'll move it around a little bit and chop it up into a bigger, and we'll change the pricing a little bit, but mostly we still want to bundle stuff. And if you want Nickelodeon, we're going to stick something else in that kids package that we're going to pay for. And a la carte, which is what consumers have been demanding, begging for, pleading for as long as I can remember, is totally different. Because if they offered a la carte, then how many subscribers were there to the RFD channel?
Sounded like millions, in terms of homes passed, not people watching.
But if they could be available a la carte, and you said to that woman that was heartbroken about her horse channel, hey, is it worth $2.99 a month to you? And she said, here's my credit card, I'm slapping it down right now, and there were a couple 100,000 farmers willing to put in $2.99 a month, then Mr. RFD guy is rolling in the money.
Well, it depends on how those numbers work. There were some examples, right? So Stacey Vanek Smith, one of the reporters, talks about how she's cut the cord, and there are things she likes and things she doesn't like, right? There is a serendipity in, she talked about, she learned to cook because she ran across the Barefoot Contessa. So there is a discovery aspect. And remember, the economics are the same. So if you pay $3 a channel for 10 channels, or you pay $30 for a bundle of 100 channels, right? Because on the theory that you only wanted 10 of the 100, you're still paying $30. So if someone said to you, you can pay $3 a channel for any 10 channels you want, oh, and by the way, we'll give you the other 90 for free, why wouldn't you think that the 90 for free with the 10 that you want isn't a better deal than just having the 10?
Because the how much did you say I was paying? $3?
Right. So let's
just say the $3 that I'm paying isn't. I want my farming guy to get my money, and I don't want the cable company doling it out to the military channel and the bowling channel and the lacrosse channel. I want to be able to have a direct relationship. I mean, this is the Kickstarter model. I want to have a direct relationship with the makers of the channels I believe in, so that they get paid better so that all my farming friends can gather together and go, you know what? This is really worth $4. This isn't worth $3. Let's bounce it up.
You know what? I think we're going to have that. I think it's
Yay.
great. Right. But I don't think it's free. My point is not that a la carte is bad. My point is not that a la carte isn't coming. My point is that bundles are not purely evil, and there are pros and cons. As I've said before, I think, as a consumer, one of the things that I'm worried about is I'm going to have to pay for marketing costs. That RFD guy didn't have to pay.
Listeners, I have to warn you now. This is Saul impersonating someone we call the man. On this episode, he's impersonating the man.
Again, acknowledging the realities of the market is not the same as endorsing the realities of the market. That's the same discussion. I'm not saying it's better. I'm saying the laws of supply and demand apply whether we want them to or not.
All right, let's do this. Let's get to the numbers, because the numbers, I think, tell an interesting story. To your point, Nielsen's reporting that 65% of TV viewers are already watching VOD.
Now, that's worldwide. I think it's actually bigger in the U.S. So
60. All right, but either way, 65 is a big.
So right. So if you're watching video on demand, which is what TiVo was a hack to try and approximate, you don't need TiVo, because you just get what you want when you want it without having to think about it in advance. It's easier.
So that's a good number for the things are changing, and we will justice will prevail. Then you hop along and we talk about binge watching. So So they're saying 70% of Americans engage in marathon TV viewing, in binge.
TiVo can't solve that problem for me either.
Well, no. Why not?
Only if I wait, right? Unless ABC puts out all 13 episodes of The Scandal in the middle of the night so I can record them and then watch them all on a binge next weekend, I have to wait week by week to get all the episodes.
All right. So are you a binge watcher?
I am not a binge watcher, but I have many friends who are, and I have respect for binge watching, but to each his own.
All right. I mean, I guess I have complicated feelings about binge watching. I guess I'm against it because I feel like it ruins. I mean, I can't tell you how many people in the last month and a half I've said, "Hey, are you watching House of Cards?" And they said, "Yes." I said, "Well, don't say another word. What episode are you up to?" And then inevitably we're not aligned, and so we can't have a conversation.
Okay, you know what? That's been the case with books forever, right? Books come out, and people read them sort of around the first couple of months that they're out, or they get around to them years later, and you have to negotiate. Our connection just broke.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're here. Okay. Sorry, listener, viewer, person. Whoever you are.
All right.
Okay, we have more statistics.
So the next one is smartphone users and video.
Right. So 81% of smartphone users stream video on their devices, and if they had a cloud DVR or just a Netflix account, they could have the same experience they have in their living room, unlike people with TiVo. There was another thing further down in that press release, by the way. There was, I thought, an important statistic. They were comparing the amount of time people spend on YouTube versus on Netflix. And, surprise, surprise, people spend more time on Netflix. And everybody keeps talking about how YouTube is the model of the future. And, YouTube is a model of the future. People do it. Lots. But Netflix is bigger, and streaming long-form content is going to be multiples bigger than streaming short-form content because it's longer.
So I'm not trying to understand the point.
The point is that when people talk about the video of the future, everybody is obsessed with these little short clips. We've talked about Go90 a bunch of times, and behavior even among people in fact, especially among people under 25, they spend, 18 minutes on average with Netflix to 14 minutes on average with YouTube. You don't find that as interesting. You didn't spend all this time trying to sell a company where the proposition was half an hour viewing time. But anyway.
And then last but not least,
yes.
Nielsen is finally going to come out and start to break out Apple TV, Roku, and connected devices. This is a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. I mean, there's a whole history of somebody invents something, some people start using it, it gets to be mass, and then the measurement industry catches up with it. And
the measurement industry has been aggressively ignoring it for as long as they possibly could.
Right. And as soon as CBS said, we're going to start charging a subscription fee for CBS so we are not dependent on our stations, everyone said, okay, well then it's not the enemy, and we should measure it and charge for it and stuff.
All right. So chapter 3, we've really just 2 minutes left, and I want to do it.
Okay.
So we've scrupulously stayed away from talking about Trump on this podcast, but
you found an angle.
I think the BuzzFeed article, How Donald Trump Bent Television to His Will, deserves 45 seconds of our attention.
Take the 45 seconds and enlighten us.
Well, I mean, look, I've been saying for months it was unforgivable. If you want to be on the Sunday news shows, you go to the green room, you get hair and makeup, you sit in the thing with the other people, you wait for the light to light up, you do the interview, and then you get in your car service and you go to your next thing. The only person that was not held to that schlep was Donald Trump, who got to phone in his bathrobe Sunday morning and just pontificate. And I did not understand why they let him do it. I know that it was entertaining. I know that, Les Moonves, I think, will never be forgiven for saying, it's bad for the country, but it's good for CBS. I mean,
even if that's true.
Oh, I'm sure it's true.
So the whole problem with politics in this country is people are saying things that aren't true. So when somebody says something true, is a politician? We should applaud them.
So you're saying
that's the issue.
No, Moonves should have said, the minute we start treating the presidential race as an entertainment, by that argument, it should have been Donald against Sarah Palin. Then you could have had a cage match.
Good. But here's the thing. So two things. One, if the producers at Face the Nation and competitors said, absolutely, Donald, you can't be on the air unless you're in our studio. And let's just say Donald turned down all of those opportunities and did not show up for those Sunday mornings. Do you think he would have gotten one less vote? Because he wasn't on Face the Nation and not the press?
Look, I think he made it clear that he was going to do whatever was entertaining, and he would do that. And he got, debates canceled, and he got, interviewers taken off of shows. And he, I think BuzzFeed's spot on. Bent to his will is exactly correct. And I think the article's a must read.
I don't think if they didn't do any of that, that it would have made any difference. I think that it is very clear that the Trump voter doesn't care about establishment anybody's. They don't care what Fox News thinks. They don't care what the Republican Party thinks. They certainly don't care what the liberal MSM thinks on Meet the Press. And I think there's a limit. You could say, okay, so arguably the media have covered him more than they should hypothetically, but would you not cover?
No. My issue, by the way, we're now officially out of time. I'm not saying that the media covered him inappropriately. They ignored things like Trump University or like all of his bankruptcies, or they gave him a pass on stuff they should have covered harder.
Wait. As he became more serious, it's not like people haven't heard about Trump University.
Yeah. All right. Well, so
I mean, is there a facet of Donald Trump that isn't a click away, that isn't been? I mean,
this will go down in history as the episode where we disagreed on everything. So next week we will find a topic to discuss in which we actually have some shared points of view. We are out of time. Go and hack on Donald all you like. I'm going to hack on some other candidates other than Donald, and we can redo this again next week. How's that?
All right, folks. Have a great week, Steve, and we'll see you same place, same time next week.